Hi there, this is Dylis Guyan and welcome to the Inspired Selling Podcast, the place where business owners and salespeople who sell to bigger businesses discover how to attract, convert and retain more of their ideal clients. And I've got a superb guest for you today, Mr. Chris Marr, the one and only master of content marketing. And I know he blushed because he's a very humble man. And I can see you blushing already, Chris, in fact, on the video there. But what he doesn't know about content marketing isn't worth knowing. And he's the founder and driving force behind the Content Marketing Academy, which is the UK's largest membership organisation of its type. And his pioneering work has helped countless organisations grow through content marketing. And through workshops, events, coaching, conferences, and a ton of freely available content, Chris has become a highly respected content marketing educator. And the reason that I'm so excited to speak to Chris today is because he has a corporate background and he understands exactly the why and how the use of content marketing is beneficial, specifically in a B2B, a business-to-business context. So welcome to the Inspired Selling Podcast, Chris. It's great.
Thanks for having me. It's good
to
be here. Thanks very much.
You're very welcome indeed. So before we get into our discussion, let's find out more about you. So tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into content marketing, and what inspired you to set up the Content Marketing Academy.
Sure, yeah. So I think the best place for me to start, is probably, I'm 36 years old. I live in Dundee, which is in the east coast of Scotland at the moment. I grew up in Fife. That's where I grew up. Went to school, went to high school, went to college, went to university there as well, all in my hometown. And I got my first real job, my first career job when I was about 19 years old. I worked at the University of St Andrews for about 10 years in various different roles, doing lots of different project work and things like that. But marketing wasn't really my job as such. I just kind of got really interested in it because I wanted to, we ran things like we had a couple of bars, a restaurant, an exclusive events venue there as well. And I really wanted to just get more customers and get more people to spend money there. Just the things that we would define as marketing, right? Marketing is, to get more customers, get them to spend more money with us, stay for longer, that sort of thing. So it just naturally fell into my lap that was the kind of the activities that I started getting involved in. And I think the key period of time was probably in my mid-20s, so about 10 or 11 years ago, I started getting really interested in marketing. Because I worked at the University of St Andrews, we were one of the first groups of people to have access to Facebook, for example. And we jumped right on there and started using it to communicate with our customers. And I started to really get interested in all these things, social media and content. Started my own personal blog in about 2010, and that was when I started to understand the power of content and how that was going to shape my future. So I read Gary Vaynerchuk's book Crush It, which just came out I think 2009, and that really inspired me to think differently about how I would shape my own future. So instead of, one of the things that I said to myself at the time was I'll never write another CV ever again. And the blog was my way out into the world, which was to, instead of me sending out my CV and applications to lots of different companies, the idea was that they would find and want to work with me instead and sort of turn the tables basically. So there's a lot of things going on in my head, a lot of naive things going on in my head at that time in 2010. And it wasn't until 2011 when I had an opportunity to leave my job that I realized I didn't want to go work for anyone else ever again. And I was already kind of signed up to go to university for a couple of years. So I did my full-time business degree at the University of St Andrews. So I got that under my belt. And then when I graduated in 2013, I went from being a full-time student one day to a director of my company the next day and got my first couple of clients. And, since then we built out a small agency based in Scotland. All our clients were based very locally. small to medium enterprises. And then as we went down that road into 2014, we started our live events stuff, and we started to build an audience around that. And that's where the Content Marketing Academy came out from. The Content Marketing Academy is actually what the business is called now, but it actually started as a small conference. And that was the thing that's where our audience was built out from. So the business has changed a lot, even in the last 4 years. And we've tried a lot of different things. We've had the agency, we've got the membership business, we've got our live events, we've got, all the content that we do, the courses that we run, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey from going back to, as we were talking about in the pre-chat, to the pre-beard suit-wearing Chris Marr 10 years ago to now, where I work from anywhere in the world, and I have a business that allows me to do that, and I've got a completely different way of life and a way of making money, I guess, and making a living. So it's been an interesting 10 years, I would say, and it's been awesome.
Fantastic. And we were just saying there was a Chris Marr that didn't have a beard.
Yeah, I wasn't born with a beard.
I think you look young now, but in those photographs without the beard, you looked about 15.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was really young at the time. Yeah, I was probably in my early 20s. Probably the photos that you're referring to. Probably I can't think, but yeah, probably in my early 20s.
So let me just recap on what you've said there then. So you left the university, you took a degree, you set up your own business, but that wasn't the Content Marketing Academy. Was that a marketing business? And then from that you set up conferences and invited people to those conferences. And from that you set up the academy.
It's a little bit more organic than that, actually. We're still the same company, the same company registration number, all that kind of stuff. We just changed the name of the company to Content Marketing Academy. The company was called Learning Every Day first. It was a small agency, and a consultancy and agency. And then so let me just actually paint a better picture than that. What happened was, when we started Learning Every Day, one of the first things that I did was set up a workshop for business owners, right? So it's like £100 per person, 2-day workshop, something like that. And that was one of the very first things I did when I started my business. And this kind of goes back, this goes really far back, Dylis, to when I first started with the University of St Andrews when I was 19. One of the first things that my boss asked me to do, or told me to do, or volunteered me to do at the time, was to go and train the staff in how to do fire safety or health and safety or something. I can't remember the exact topic, but she's like, here's the acetates, Chris. go and teach the staff about health and safety. So one of the first tasks I had to do was go in front of an audience and do a workshop, right? And then all through my whole career at the University of St Andrews for 10 years, I don't know how many workshops I delivered and training sessions I did, dozens and dozens and dozens. We had to do something like 15 every year for every group of staff. And eventually that just became part of the course. And obviously as part of that also came all the training, like training me how to train. So train the trainer, group training, all of that stuff. I had to do all of that. So I had tons of experience in that. So it was no real surprise, actually, looking back on it now, that one of the first things I did was start setting up workshops, live events, meetups. We did dozens of really small workshops locally for about 10 people. They were only £10 per person to come along. I made no money on them. And the idea was to try and build an audience around the business. But what happened is that we became more known for what we were doing around the Content Marketing Academy stuff, which was what we called our event at the time, rather than what the business was called, which was called Learning Every Day. And there were distinctly different brands. One was blue and a bit fun. One was green and a bit more corporate and businessy. And then there was me in the middle, kind of like floating around in a suit sometimes, and then other times not. And then what we did was in 2016, we consolidated both brands into CMA, changed the name of the business, and then we became a membership and live events business, essentially. So we're now we only teach content marketing. We don't do any client work at all. We don't have any clients. It's all teacher-led content that we deliver now.
And I attended your conference at the beginning of this year, and it was phenomenal. absolutely phenomenal. And I've been to dozens and dozens of events over the years, and it really was the quality of speakers at the Content Marketing Academy conference.
Yeah,
was superb.
Yeah, that's a big thing for us, is that we want to, when, you know, I speak to, I don't know how many speakers I speak to. I had two calls today with speakers pitching their, you know, to come along to CAA Live, and one of the big factors we consider is making sure we get the right people on that stage. You know, we only have 2 days, one track, and it's making sure that everybody's blown away with the speakers that are up there. Not everybody's going to relate to every speaker. I mean, we get that. And some people will, you know, really take to someone else and maybe not someone else, and we understand that. But we really want to make sure that the people on the stage are people that we can learn from and look up to and be inspired by and motivated by, and that's really important for us.
And what I absolutely loved was it wasn't a pitch fest. This was absolute raw education. It was education.
That's why we don't have any sponsors. There's no expo. You won't see any banners for other people's companies there. It's not even on my radar. It's not even you know, how could we make more money? We'll get some sponsorship. It's not even on my radar. We don't even look at it. It's not a thing. So yeah, it's absolutely a big part of it, because I've been to tons of events like you, Dylis, as well, and I just thought to myself, what do I not like about events? What do I like about events? How can I make sure that we create an event that we can be proud of?
It really was something special. Not just the quality of the speakers, the fact there wasn't this pitch fest, but the venue was sensational.
Yeah.
It added to the quality of the whole event.
Yeah, we don't. This is something that this goes back to the early days. I mean, even when I did my first workshop, we picked a venue that was not normal. We had a putting green in the afternoon session and stuff like that. You know, things that we can do that are fun. The Hub is probably one of the most impressive venues in the whole of Edinburgh for an event like ours. And you've got to think about, like, if you get into marketing and sales sort of discussion, you've got to think about what that looks like as a picture. You know, when people are taking pictures and doing their live videos and their stories, and then what do we share afterwards? And we want people to see pictures that are unlike anything they have ever seen before. And you could do that event, and it could be the same speakers and the same people and the same furniture and everything, and do it in a Hilton hotel, and it would not be as impressive as what it is. It wouldn't have the same vibe. Even going back to one of our most recent events that we did in a really old theatre in the centre of Edinburgh as well, and we've used to do that event in a hotel room. The pictures just did not do it any justice. And as much as is hugely impressive, the event, the actual transformations that take place at the event are just not shown, they just don't come through in the pictures. So you need to think about that as well. So yeah, absolutely, Dylis, yeah.
Yeah, I was so impressed with the amount of thought you had put in to the experience of the people who were attending. It was so obvious. And I know you're going to share some details about your next one at the end of this, but I just give you the opportunity and really share with you how much I really did appreciate and enjoy the whole experience. It was fantastic.
I'm glad you came. I'm glad you enjoyed it as well. That's the most important part.
Brilliant people who've also been on the podcast. So, you know, it's such a great place to be.
I just always want to have the best people around me. I mean, it's not even from a selfish perspective, but even at that level, I'm like, how can we just make sure we've got 200 amazing people in the room that I actually want to hang out with, and then make sure we've got 16 speakers on the stage that everybody wants to learn from and get to know and be friends with. Yeah. And that's what happens. I mean, the people that come to the conference make friends with the people on the stages. They end up becoming actual friends, and they know each other now. And that's the kind of event that we want to have, is a non-elitist, non-hype event.
And you certainly achieved that. You're a very generous of spirit kind of person. You've been very generous to me in terms of the introductions you've made and so on. However, let me stop stroking your ego, because you know that I've got you upon a bit of a pedestal, Chris Marr. Anyway, let's go back to when you set up your Content Marketing Academy. what were the challenges that you faced? Because I'm sure it wasn't all plain sailing. And did content marketing form a part of you becoming known as that expert in the content marketing space?
One of the biggest challenges I had from the very start, and I get every marketing person will understand this, but most people in business suffer from it too, is that they don't know where to focus their energy and their resources on. So they generally, in most cases, they end up being generalists in their business. So they can do everything okay, reasonably well. But they can't do any one thing very, very well and be an expert in it. And therefore, they're not really known for anything. So a lot, even people that I speak to now that want to be speakers on our stage, will say, like, what do you speak about? It's like social media. And I'm like, yeah, but what part of social media do you speak about? What are you an expert in? And they're just very general. So there's a generalist approach to it. So one of the lessons I learned very early on was, do I go wide or do I go deep? And that was my stepdad was coaching me at the time. And from that day on, I just decided that content marketing was going to be absolutely my number one thing. And then I went on to read all the books, do all the courses, get known in that space for it, put the name actually on our business, put heart on our sleeve basically, and make it a thing. So that was like a big challenge at the start, was just understanding just how important it was to really lean in on the thing that really interested me. How I started my business, I think the first thing I did was start a blog. That was how I got my first 5-figure contract, was from a really terrible blog that I wrote, that I produced. Like, I created a website online on WordPress, and it was a terrible, badly designed, but it got me the contract. And that was how someone got interested in what I was doing. So content was always underpinned everything that I did. And I have not rested on that. It's always been a big part of it. And I want to practice what I preach as well. So when someone says to me, how do you get customers, Chris? I can say, well, I get it through content marketing, and I don't spend a single penny on advertising, and we build our business completely organically, and I can show you how to do exactly the same thing. So there's been tons of challenges along the way. The biggest one was definitely figuring out what we're wanting to be known for, but also I would say patience is probably a big factor as well, especially when you're doing, when content marketing is a big thing for you, is that you've got to remain patient, that what you're believing in, what you're doing is taking you down the right path, and that at some point in the future you're going to get to that success, whatever it is that you're sort of looking for. So I think a lot of people are really looking for a silver bullet kind of approach, or a fast buck, and that's slow. I mean, it's always been a myth, but there's always been things there that kind of emulated a silver bullet. But now I think the more and more we go down the road and the internet becomes a little bit more mature, and I think what we're finding is that that's becoming very, very rare to find something like that. And a lot of people are having to recalibrate their expectations in terms of what they're going to get from their efforts for marketing. And they're starting to understand that actually it is going to take time, and it is going to take a lot of effort if we want to build something great. And that's what I would say is a couple of the biggest challenges for us, is just managing the business. And I mean, if you look at my Twitter profile, it says at the very end, embracing slow. That's like a big part of the approach to what we do, is that, we're here for the long term. I want to be here next year. I want, that's my key. Is the key thing is, like, I want to run our event next year, and I'll do everything I can to make sure that happens, because that means we'll be here the year after. And the more years we stay, the more years we're going to stay. So it's kind of, how do we make sure that that's a thing? And we're not in a rush to get to any end goal. It's about creating something that we're proud of.
So what do you say then to the business owner or salesperson even, who is selling to other businesses, and they say, well, that's all great, Chris, but I haven't time for slow. I need to be proactive. So how do we fit proactive and content marketing together? So when I talk about proactive, I'm talking about, email, maybe direct mail, phone call, where they may get a no. And what I always teach people is, it's not no forever. It's just no, not right now, which is where you can then keep in touch with the blogs or valuable information, links to information, whatever. What's your take on that?
Someone that says, I understand content marketing, I know what it is, but I don't have time for it, is essentially what you're saying, right?
Not so much haven't got time for it, haven't got time to wait for it to gain traction.
Right. So the key thing here, though, Dylis, is this gets me really riled up, is because that when someone says that to me, they actually don't get content marketing, is what they're telling me. So they're saying we understand content marketing, but as soon as that but goes in, then it's the excuse or the reason why they're not doing it. And the reason that they're not doing it is because they don't actually get it. They don't actually understand what content marketing is. Now, content marketing is about sales. It's about business growth. It absolutely has to be about that. You can't walk into a board room of people, senior level, and say to them, hey guys, we're going to just start doing all these blogs and things like that. And hopefully maybe, in time, maybe 6 months, 12 months, 18 months time, we might get some customers. We'll see how it goes type of thing. They're going to be like, no way. We're just going to get 100 people and we're going to make tons of phone calls and we'll just do it that way. So what we need to do is we need to come back to basics and help people understand how content marketing leads to sales. And the key factor in all of this for all businesses that are listening, B2B, B2C, government, non-profit, third sector, is understanding how consumers make buying decisions today. That's it, right? How does a consumer make a buying decision? That's what we need to consider. And this is what they don't do, right? They don't sit at home waiting for you to phone them to sell to them. And they don't want to be sold to. We turn off all advertising. We binge watch on Netflix. We hate it. We even skip the intro on Netflix now because we don't want to waste time on anything, right? We want to find what we're looking for. We want to be in control. We want to make sure we're making an educated buying decision. And we do not want to be sold to because we feel like we're going to get ripped off. So these are the things that people don't want, right? And you think to yourself, well, just look at your own buying behavior. Like as a consumer, every single person listening to this podcast is a consumer. Just look at how you buy things today, and then look at your business and your sales and your market team and think to yourself, are we communicating in the way that helps consumers to make buying decisions? And there's no doubt in my mind that most of the people listening to this will not be doing it in the best way. And that's how it is today. I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know. I'm telling you the facts, right? This is how people do it. They'll understand that they have a problem somewhere. They'll become aware that they have a problem or a need for something. The first thing they're going to do is they're going to go to Google and they're going to search for some stuff, right? They're going to be like, well, what's the best version of this thing? Or how much does it cost for this thing? What's the difference between that product and this product, or this service and that service? How much is it going to cost? How long does it take? There's loads of questions they're going to ask about that before they even consider the company that they're going to be buying from somewhere down the line, right? So we need to consider all of this stuff. How do consumers make a buying decision today should be one of the major factors that determine how you go to market today as a business. So it's about marrying those two things together, about plugging that gap. So I think if someone says to me, I'm not prepared to embrace slow, I'm not prepared to put the time and the effort into this, Chris, what they're really saying to me is, I don't want to do the marketing, right? Because what I've just explained is marketing today. How customers can find you, your prospective customers can find you when they've never heard of you before, help them to make an educated buying decision in their time so they feel in control, and then they contact you for the first time when they feel like they've built up enough trust, which is the key. So that's like the key to content marketing, is understanding that it's not just blogs and podcasts for the sake of it. It's about creating content that drives sales, that helps your sales teams to get more educated, more qualified leads so you can close them faster. And not only that, you want them to spend more money with you as well. So you get them to pre-qualify. You're not wasting your time answering silly questions that you answer 50 times a day. They've already been answered. And now you're getting people that have done all of that education piece now, and they are ready to buy. That's what we're really looking for. That's marketing. Marketing should drive the sales process and speed it up and make it better for everybody. And marketing, if it's done properly, works 24/7, 365, and it should really improve every aspect of the business in terms of how someone goes from being a prospect to a lead, to a customer, to an advocate of your business. Content touches all of that whole journey through, from the prospecting right through to them being a referral partner for your business. And I think that in short is what we really need to be thinking about today. And it's not about whether or not you want to do content marketing or not. The question is, do you want to be relevant today and in 5 years' time from now? Do you still want to have a business? And if you do, then you're going to have to understand that marketing is fundamental to getting customers today. It always has been. It's like, I'm not telling you anything new. Marketing was always about doing something, some activity, creating something that created interest in your business, allowed you to be found and accessible to people so that they would maybe want to do business with you in the future. Yeah. That just happens to be today a lot of digital things like blogs and videos, right? And podcasts, in fact, that we're on today.
Yeah. And it's about positioning yourself as that trusted expert as well, isn't it? It's about cutting through all of that noise so that you are, when somebody is looking, they find you because they find your blog or they find your podcast or they find your video or whatever it is. I don't know whether you've come across Chet Holmes, the ultimate sales machine. It's an excellent book. And
yes.
He's done research. And I always use this, the triangle, where there's only 3% of your target market actively looking, and there's 30% who are never going to be interested. But there's 67% in the middle there who are either 7% who know they need the product, but they're not looking just right now. Another 30% who know they need it, but they're too busy with the everyday goings on in their business. 30% who don't even know that your product or service exists. And a great example of that is my husband, who suffered from noise-induced hearing loss from being in the Marines. And we used to have the television either blaring loud or the subtext on. And he got some marketing material from a company who do TV ears and are a wireless set of ears that connect to the television. And when he saw those, it was like, oh my God, I didn't even know there was such a thing. But because they educated him through their marketing, he was one of those people who didn't know about the product or service.
Yeah, so I think that's a key, absolute key lesson for anybody listening to this as well, is the understanding that so for example, a lot of people will say to me, Chris, we come up number 1 on Google for our brand name. And I'm like, yeah, nobody is looking for your brand name. The people that you really need to be focusing on are people that don't know that you exist. So you've got to think to yourself, if you're creating content today, if you're truly doing content marketing, you are creating content that is that can be found by people when they've never heard of you before. Yeah. Right. That's an absolute key lesson.
Yeah. And I absolutely love that from Chet Holmes. You could be missing 67% of your target market.
Well, it's funny because it's very similar to the statistic that Google came up with, which is the 70%, right? Zero moment of truth, that 70% of the buying decision is made online before someone makes contact with your business for the first time, right? So 70% of the buying decision is made online before someone contacts your business for the first time. That's people doing research, educating themselves, trying to figure out what they're looking for. They don't even know they might not even know there's a product or a service that does what they're looking for. All they're doing is looking and researching. They're not waiting to be sold to. They're not even ready to buy yet. They're just looking around, doing their research. Yeah.
So what are your sort of top tips then for business owners or salespeople who are selling to bigger businesses to really embrace content marketing? What should they be doing? What would you say are the first steps?
The first steps for people doing what really want to get stuck into content marketing is that they really need to understand what we've just talked about, right? That main part of this podcast, just understanding how your prospects behave when they're trying to make a buying decision, right? You need to really, really think about that. And it's slightly different for each type of business, but the best businesses in the world get closer to their customers than any of their competition, right? And they understand and emotionally connect with their customers better than anybody else, right? So that's step one. Step one is to listen to your customers and understand them better than anybody else. And a lot of companies say, but we're customer focused, Chris. And I'm like, Yeah, I don't believe it for a second, not a second. So you really need to understand them, listen to their problems, listen to their questions. Like, so step one for the bigger businesses perhaps is to embrace your sales team, embrace your sales and your marketing team and your leadership. Get in a room together and start thinking to yourself, well, what questions are people asking us every single day? Are we answering those questions on our website? When you type those questions into Google, are we the company that is providing the answer to these questions, or are they getting them from somewhere else? Are we the trusted people within our industry? Can we be the leaders in our industry for these questions, to be that resource for our prospective customers? So there's a lot you can do, like right off the bat, that just really is stuff that's right in front of you. It's in your email inbox. It's on the phone calls you're having with people. And the key thing here is to embrace transparency. And a lot of companies just simply are not prepared to do this. And you say to them, like, put this information on your website. Instead of answering this question one-to-one with people on the phone or by email, you publish it as an article on your website. But what if our competition steal it? And it's like, they're not going to steal it. They don't pay your bills. Stop worrying about them so much, and be the first to do it. Get out there in the industry, change your industry, do something different. So I think transparency is like one of the biggest challenges for businesses, is they feel like if they can do it in private, but you're just not going to get as many customers doing it that way. You really want to get it out there and become, what Marcus Sheridan taught us is to be the Wikipedia of your industry, is to be that resource for people all over the world for what it is that you do, and to lead as well, to be leaders within your space. So I would say, like, off the bat, there's like so many things you could do. You've got to embrace transparency and honesty and an unbiased approach to content that you're providing for your consumers, your prospective customers, to help them make an educated buying decision. And that can come out in the forms of blogs and videos and things like that. But the very first thing you've got to do is you've got to have some ideas. You've got to have some ideas about what that looks like. So listen to your customers, the questions that they have, the problems that they have. How can you create content that helps them answer those questions, solve those problems for them? And then find a platform or a medium that relates to them, something that they will actually read. Would they read it? Would they watch it? Would they listen to it? You've got to figure that out for yourself in terms of who your audience is, and how much resource and time you have to put into it. And then you create that content, you publish that content, and you do it consistently forever. And when you were talking about embracing slow, and I talk about with people with this all the time as well, is that you don't just say, well, we'll give it 6 months. You just do it. This is you now. This is the world that we live in. This is what you have to do now. Yeah. And it won't be long until your competition are doing this as well. And you will be behind, and you'll regret the fact that you didn't bite the bullet and actually do it and make that decision to actually get it done. And, one of the best examples I can share with you is that's a local car garage actually in my local, where I used to live in Dunfermline in Fife. And they closed down, and the guy, the owner of the business, was on in the paper, quoted saying something like, the businesses, like this whole industry has changed now. People will go on the internet, do all of the research, and then they will walk into my garage and tell me how much they're going to pay for this car, right? And if I don't give them for that price, they're just going to go away and they're going to buy it online, right? And what's happening is they're just not coming into the garage anymore. So we closed our garage down, and we're not going to do business anymore, right? Because we're not, and it was in the subtext, we are not willing to change, right? So if he had embraced change, and he was like, consumers are changing, therefore we need to change. But instead what he said was, consumers are changing, we're not prepared to change, we're just going to close the business, actually, is what we're going to do. And, one of the sort of the red flags that went off for me was that this is a used cars, like they're very traditional in terms of how they approach business, and they are having to change the way that they do business because people are going online, speccing out their cars online and having them delivered to their door, right? That's what's happening. It's like, wake up call, everybody, hello. Everything's changing, so in terms of how people make buying decisions and buy things today, and it's cars. Cars are becoming a commodity now for people. So it's happening across all industries, B2C, B2B. And it's really, and for a lot of people, it will be a radical change in terms of how they approach. But honestly, there's so much great content out there to help you understand it. Your sales guys are probably the ones that are your absolute key to this whole thing. Whoever the salespeople are in your business, whether it's the director or you've got a salesperson or a sales team, those are the people that you really want to get in on this, because it's going to make they'll look like heroes. And this whole thing, even though it's marketing that's doing a lot of the legwork, they're the ones that will reap the benefits in terms of the better qualified prospective customers.
And they're out there, they're hearing what the problems are, they hear the questions, they need to collaborate and share that information instead of being individual silos of information.
Yep, they all need to work together. Absolutely.
Yeah. And, you've hit the nail on the head there. The consumers now are becoming much more discerning. They want much more for their money. It's not, it should never have been about product, but it certainly is not about product these days. They are looking for someone who can bring insights, who can bring that added value, who can be seen as the trusted advisor. And through the content marketing, it also educates you when if you are looking to create an article or a video, or you're talking to people like me talking to you, I learn from that. And I know that you are a lifelong learner, and I am the same. And that all adds towards the richness of your trusted expert status.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a cycle, You the thing is with this, like, you've got to give to get, and every situation's like this. If you want to build trust with an audience, you have to give trust first. Like it's like every relationship, you've got to give trust to get trust, and it's the same for education. You give a little, you get a little. We have this conversation, everybody learns. You learn, I learn, the audience learns. It's if anything, when you really strip we're not even talking about content marketing anymore, but when you strip it right back, it's about an approach, it's about a mindset or a philosophy towards how you actually grow your business. If you're in business to just fingers crossed, let's just make as many sales as we possibly can and just get through this, then you're not going to be, you might be around for a while, but you're not going to create anything worth talking about, right? Whereas if you're in business, you're like, we're here to build something great, and we're here to learn, and we're always going to be learning, and our approach to business is to be the best we can be at all in all the ways that we can. Then you're always going to be learning, and you're probably already doing this, or you want to at least. So I think that that is the marked difference, I think, between those that will make a move and those that won't. There'll be those that are just like, we have to do this, because if we don't,
do it.
we just feel compelled to do it. And there'll be people out there that will just question it. They'll be like, oh, but what about this, and what about that, and what about that? And it's like, well, what about what? Like, what about, like you said, about anything? Like the people that make the move, the people that want to change and want to try different things will be the people that will be here in 5 years' time. Yeah.
And also, with artificial intelligence galloping ahead, people now have got to be the trusted expert. They've got to be someone who really understands their client, understands the world in which they operate, and can bring that added value. And, so they can't sit still. They absolutely can't. I interviewed a lady from America a couple of weeks ago, an expert in technologies, and it's coming in the next 18 months. Now, if you are just sitting hoping that you're going to sell some of your product or your service in the traditional way, it's not going to work for you. So you're absolutely right, Chris.
It's already here.
Yeah.
The technology is already here.
But it's going to gallop ahead. When I was interviewing this lady, it was like, wow, this is going to take a lot of people by surprise with what's coming. So let's just wind up then. And anyone who's listening or watching this and they think, I need to get into this, but I need to learn how to do it, how can they get in touch with you, Chris? Because you are the number one person, certainly, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of your teaching ability and the quality of what you teach. So how can people get in touch with you?
Sure, thanks for that. And the best thing to do, like, I get this question a lot, actually, and there's a couple of different things that I would advise you to do. One thing is that you try and learn as much as you can, like, on your own, right? So there's a lot of things you can do just yourself, right? So if you went to our website, for example, there's a Start Here page on cmauk.co.uk. There's the chart, there's the Content Marketing Institute, right? CMI, right? There is just an absolute, like, complete, like, treasure chest of content on that website, for example, too, right? So you could go there and get a bunch of content from them as well, and just learn as much as you can about, like, what's changed in the world and why we need to change, and And I think the key thing is just to learn enough so that you can bring it back into your company and start teaching your sales and marketing team about it as well, and allow them to make that change in the business too. So I think there's tons you can do for free. There's tons you can do for free. But if you wanted to have more directed learning in terms of someone helping you to work through it in a structured way, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, etc., then definitely get in touch with me. You could email me, chris@cmauk.co.uk. You could tweet me at chrismar101. There's lots of things I could do. Most of this, I could give you stuff for free. You could join our membership. I've got a 12-week program that I run that's probably the best content marketing program on the planet, designed by Marcus Sheridan, the sales lion, and we teach that exclusively within CMA. So we've got a whole bunch of resources there that we can take people through. Just get in touch with me and I'll help you find a fit for whatever's right for you. It might be something for free, it might not be, it just depends on what you want. But there is tons of ways to do this. The first thing is you deciding that you are going to do it first, so I think that's the key. Yeah, absolutely. But I'm willing to help anybody. You've got a question, something that's bothering you that we've covered today, something that's not clear, or you want to shout at me because I've said something that you don't agree with, then just email me. Don't do that on Twitter. Email me, chris@cmauk.co.uk. I'm always available.
Excellent. Let me just check that. That's cmauk.co.uk. And it's
correct.
The same address there. Chris, thank you so much. It's been so insightful. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and I hope we talk again soon.
You're welcome. It's great being here. Thank you.
Bye for now.